I have never even thought about having a moment with my dog before. I was feeling lonely on a family picnic and wanted to just lie down for a short nap. First, let me describe myself. My body is a collection of Kurt's generous hips, a full bust and thighs that have always drawn both compliments and stares. My measurements 46 in at the bust, 38 at the waist, and 50 at the hips. It was a family picnic meant to rekindle the bond we'd lost somewhere in the chaos of life. The day had started with promise Ronnie setting up the camp, the kids laughing and playing in the woods, that soon enough his phone pulled him away, and I was left to entertain myself. Bernard, our Saint Bernard, was my constant companion that day. Santa's dog, 'cause we called him because we'd adopted him last Christmas. When he wandered into our yard like a furry miracle, Bernard was protective, loyal, and always by my side. But that day his attention felt different. When Ronnie announced he was heading into the woods to gather firewood with the kids tagging along, I was left alone with Bernard. The air was crisp, the chill biting, but the campfire gave off a comforting warmth. I sat on a blanket staring at the trees, lost in my thoughts. Bernard lay beside me, at first his head resting on my lap. His presence was soothing, his big brown eyes filled with an understanding I didn't expect. He nuzzled, led closer, his warm breath brushing against my hand. At first it felt innocent, comforting, but then he began to press himself closer, his massive paws reaching up to rest gently against my chest as if he were trying to hug me. Bernard, what are you doing? I whispered, laughing nervously, trying to brush off the oddness of the moment, but he persisted, his large, wet nose brushing against my cheek. He licked me, his tongue tracing the curve of my jaw. My heart raced, and I don't know why it was feeling good between my legs, but I tried to move back. But he was so big, so insistent, his affection turned intense, and when he began to lick my bare feet, I froze. It felt strange, uncomfortable, but there was something in his eyes that stopped me from reacting right away. It was as if he could sense my loneliness, my longing for connection. No, Bernard, stop, I said firmly, pushing him away. He whimpered, looking at me as though I'd broken his heart. I stood abruptly, brushing off the blanket and retreating into the tent. Bernard followed me, his heavy paws thewing against the ground. The cold outside was unbearable, and the thought of leaving the tent open didn't cross my mind. I zipped it shut, trapping us both inside. As I lay down, pulling the blankets over me, trying to block out the confusion swirling in my mind, Bernard curled up at my feet, his warmth filling the small space. It was quiet, almost too quiet, and my heart pounded as I wrestled with the strangeness of the moment. As I went to sleep, I was in my husband's oversized t-shirt and not wearing anything below. Suddenly I felt thirsty. I got up and went outside to drink water. Now picture the scene. It is the middle of the green valley, and I am not in my clothes, bending over to pour some water in a glass, and I am feeling the warm fuzzy feelings between my legs, and there he is, sitting, a full-blooded male dog. What is he to do but go and investigate the scent? 10 moments later it hit me, a sloppy wet tongue slithering right between my legs that was already puffy and down. I was startled at the touch and jumped up with a shock, shouting, oh my God, what? Turning around, there was Bernard sitting there with his tail slapping the floor. You know how they are, with a silly look on his face and his head tipped to one side, as if to say, I like that, can I have some more please? I turned to him, man sternly said, you can keep your nose out of there, you pervert. I grabbed my glass and went back to my tent. Now I don't know if it was the hot blanket or smoothing toss all over my skin, or even thoughts of my dog, but I was feeling very, very horny, and I really needed to take care of a need. So I grabbed one of my favorite toys and lay back and started to play. I was oblivious to anything around me, and I was totally unaware that the dog had wandered around me and was sitting at the bedroom door, watching me. I can remember how deep the need to come was getting. It felt like it was in the pit of my soul. You know that need to come so bad you just have to keep going until you explode, and I was getting there fast. Lying on my back, I swung my legs up high and opened them. Why? Bernard had moved closer, intently watching me. Only God knows what might have been going through the dog's mind. Bernard made his move. He was in the tent, and in one swift movement he started sniffing me. He thought there may be dirt, so he decided to lick the dirt off. I was in heaven when he started doing this. I was powerless at this point. Now only another woman can understand that when one of the super powerful pleasures hits, your body takes on a life of its own. My breathing became erratic. My legs went stiff with each passing moment. Beads of sweat were oozing from every inch of me. I was locked in at that moment. I forget about my husband, my kids, and my loyalty. I was lost in a haze as my eyes closed. And I drifted off to sleep, I remember. Opening my eyes and staring at the clock. I slept for 3 hours and my brain engaged. With my body I became aware of something. Wet sliding over my skin, I rolled over on my back and let my weak legs fall. Open there was the dog Bernard, only too willing to continue what he was doing. Before I was loving every moment, I was going to enjoy each second. The dog then came over me and started hitting me from the back. It was too painful, but only I know how much I enjoy it after. 15 minutes of pure he filled me with his, leaving me overthinking. Morning came slowly, the first light filtering through the thin fabric of the tent. I unzipped the entrance and stepped outside, inhaling the crisp whole air. Bernard followed me, staying close as I cleaned up the remnants of the previous day. I couldn't look at him the same way and guilt gnawed at the edges of my mind. When Ronnie and the kids returned, their laughter broke the silence. Ronnie didn't notice anything. Miss his arms full of firewood and his attention already turning to setting up breakfast, but I felt different. Change. The secret I carried now was one I couldn't explain even to myself. It was a moment I'd never intended at, one that left me questioning everything. And as Ronnie smiled at me oblivious, I couldn't help but wonder if the weight of this secret would ever truly go away.